There's a certain thrill to organized chaos, meticulously planning every move only to be thrown into the fire and watching it somehow still come together. In some ways, that's kind of the Doorkickers 2 experience, a real-time with pause milsim strategy game that recently hit its full 1.0 release to nearly spotless reviews. But why is that? And is it really worth the hype? Let's take a deeper look and break it down. Doorkickers 2 Task Force North is a hyper-tactical strategy game that takes place in a fictional Middle Eastern setting. You take on the role of a commander running counter-insurgency operations, leading squads of Army Rangers, local SWAT, and even CIA operatives. Missions are played through in a top-down perspective, allowing you to visualize and plan around the entire map's layout at all times. That definitely doesn't mean it's easy though, but I'll break that down more when we get into the mission-to-mission gameplay a little bit later. Now, if you're just hearing about Doorkickers 2, this isn't technically a new game. It first launched into early access in 2020 and over the years has been shaped by player feedback, balance changes, and steady content updates, accumulating that overwhelmingly positive rating along the way. As someone who has watched this game for a long time, I was very surprised and lucky enough to be offered a free Steam key to play and review the full release, so a big thank you to the developers for that. And with this 1.0 release, there are some additions and things you should know whether you're new or just coming back after a long time away. All progress for all players has been wiped and reset, so any unlocks or ranked up squads that you might have had previously are now back down to 0. The good news is they did add in the much anticipated campaigns, which need to be unlocked by completing a set amount of missions first. There are two different types of these: tours of duty that are randomly generated and operations which are handcrafted creations from the developers. These campaigns are generally more difficult than most of these single missions, some containing bigger maps with lots more hostiles. Each one has a set number of days to complete its final mission, and each squad can only be actively engaged in one campaign at a time. This is because, unlike these single one-off missions outside of the campaigns, you will lose soldiers from your squads if they fall in combat. Now, whether this is permanent or not is up to you, with the option of an Iron Man mode for players who want that challenge and extra tension added in. So plan accordingly. I will say some players may be disappointed by the fact that Iron Man doesn't technically increase the difficulty, but instead just magnifies the consequences. There won't necessarily be more enemies or harder missions, but your bad decisions will have to be carried along with you. Also, if you're expecting a fully fleshed out deep story or cutscenes and character development, that's not really what this is. Doorkickers 2 is much more of a tactical sandbox style, with the ability to name and customize your soldiers' portraits and some great replayability features I'll get into later. These campaigns are basically structured mini-stories that add in the squad management and make it feel much more like a band of soldiers working together through the conflict. Tour of Duty campaigns especially feel like this because if you make it through the initial missions, you can continue to extend your tour, rest and heal, or bring the squad home and take whatever rewards they've earned with you. And rewards are vital. How you perform on missions will determine your star rating, 1 to 3, and those stars will be used to unlock new gear for your squad. Better weapons, heavier armor, suppressors, all the good stuff. Campaigns also specifically have their own rewards called battle honors that unlock some of the higher tier equipment. In addition, your soldiers will rank up and increase their base stats, climbing from slow and clumsy rookies to efficient veterans over time. This goes hand in hand with your overall squad's level and doctrines, which is kind of like a skill tree that allows you to train for faster reloads, quicker target acquisition, and more efficient use of firing modes within certain ranges. To top it off, you'll start with Rangers but can unlock SWAT and undercover CIA squads, and each one has their own unique equipment, doctrines, and playstyles. There is a lot to keep you busy, and that's without even mentioning individual mission challenges and medals for things like not pausing or speedrunning. But none of that really matters if the mission-to-mission gameplay is not very good, right? Luckily, there's a variety of approaches for players to take. At its core, Doorkickers 2 is about planning and executing the squad's mission, giving you the objective but letting you decide how you get there. You can manually draw a path for each soldier and issue orders as they go, all the way down to which direction they will aim and when, like for clearing corners, what actions they will take, and even synchronizing actions and timing between soldiers with the use of go codes. After meticulously drawing this plan out and covering all of your details and bases, it's time to hit that go button and watch it all unfold, for better or for worse. This is where that pause function comes in, because when things inevitably go sideways, you can pause, think, and rework whatever parts of the plan you need to, or you can control soldiers individually in real time with no plan, sweeping and clearing as you go, or really any mix of those two approaches that fit the situation. You can even approach this kind of like a turn-based game by moving all of your troopers, getting them into position, and then pausing and figuring out which actions or routes you want them to go on next. I tend to plan out the initial breaches and anything like flashbangs or sniper support fire, which is a part of some missions, and then pause as I issue orders and continue throughout the rest of the map. Something to understand here is that while I know this makes it sound like a puzzle type of game, it really is not. There is an element of RNG in Doorkickers 2 to the point that sometimes the same plan won't even give the same results. Enemy positions and reactions can change, situations are fluid, and there's a lot of factors in play. Hostage executioners who get spooked easily, kamikaze-style enemies, timers, and of course, hysterical civilians. This makes each run at a mission slightly unpredictable, increases replayability, and in my opinion is much better than a set puzzle solver type of game. There's a good variety of equipment and gear to use between classes, from breaching shotguns to underbarrel grenade launchers, marksmen, heavy LMG supports, smoke bombs and door charges, and experimentation is all a part of the fun. Doing these single missions won't lose you soldiers permanently. Want to kill the lights and go through the compound in night vision mode? Throw smoke and move light machine guns into position to suppress hostiles? How about break a window and clear out an angle that the enemy doesn't expect you to come from? Or maybe just do all of the above. Doorkickers 2 is all about realistic strategy, deep tactical freedom, and combat, and proper planning will be rewarded. This includes the equipment, armor, and attachments that you choose, as mobility, aim speed, and protection actually matter, meaning that your soldiers are not bullet sponges, and playing this like an action shooter would likely be frustrating. If you're looking for a run and gun type of game, this might not be what you want. Adding on to that replayability is the staggering amount of community-created content available in the Steam Workshop. Not just maps and missions either. Portraits, sound effects, campaigns, units and platoons, and gameplay tweaks, just to name a few. As of this recording, there are over 8,000 entries in the workshop to filter and browse through. I love some good mods, and this is something that I think is essential to keep any game like this alive, thriving, and replayable in the long term. The workshop content adds to that tactical sandbox aspect, but if you don't want to browse through all of those extra maps and missions, there is a random map generator that's built into Doorkickers 2, and even a function to let it randomly select and load up a workshop map for you. This is on top of a pretty good selection of developer-made maps with challenges and medals to be earned. In addition, for the hands-on types, there's a full map and mission creator, although honestly, I'm not generally very good with those things, so I'll leave the details about that to somebody else. Bottom line, there is plenty of content and resources available for players here. And with all of these things put together, it's clear that Doorkickers 2 is built to last. The moment-to-moment decision-making, the balance between careful planning and unpredictable chaos, plus the sheer satisfaction of executing a flawless run, all comes together into one of the most rewarding tactical strategy experiences out there. For some players, the lack of a deeply defined campaign and directed storyline may be a turnoff, but in my opinion, the more sandbox style and tactical freedom of Doorkickers 2 is what really makes it shine and keeps me coming back for more. However, while the tutorial missions show you the basics, there are definitely some things I wish I would have figured out or known sooner. To get a breakdown of some of those beginner tips and details, check out the video that's on screen now.